Hello, everybody. We're going to get started today. I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. Just wanted to say thanks for jumping on the call and taking time out of your Sunday. I know that is like, something I always look forward to it every week. But I know for some that's like, taking time out of your week and to looking at the clock and making sure that you can be on and everything that way. So I just want to say thanks for doing that. Thanks for stepping up as leaders in your own as well, too, for being on the call tonight also. Tonight we have really cool content. I'm just going to get started, introduce Peyton and have him get started, and then I'll come back on here at the end. A couple housekeeping items real quick. We have the event coming up on November 5th. So it's for people that have hit area, whether it's area trainer or area influencer, they get to go to the regional on that day. And then getting that all set up in the back office was the next step for that. The day before that is a Friday, and they're doing some kind of a meet and greet thing. But Thursday is the date that you want to remember. That's the 3rd of November, which is coming up pretty quick. The 3rd of November is a giant opportunity meeting in Layton, and we can all get together there if we're physically within the area in Utah. And I think we'll pack the house, and it'll be a really cool opportunity to spend some time together. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Peyton. Just pencil in November 3rd. Peyton, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear it loud and clear?
Sweet. What's that great V for Vendetta movie, right? That says, remember the 3rd of November. I think he says the 5th of November, but in this case, remember the 3rd of November. It should be good. But what's up, everybody? Nice to be with you tonight. Good times, changing of the seasons. I think there's a lot going on in the world right now. I know there's a lot going on in my world. And I think that there's kind of a collective, maybe a collective longing happening in our country right now, in our community, something like that. There's also kind of a collective, an angst, maybe a little bit of a collective somberness, and of course, some wonderful and beautiful things happening as well. And so, Kevin and I have been reflecting a lot this week in particular over the last maybe 6 or 8 weeks, right? We really got started with Active Greens and with AAO. Kind of towards the end of July, we started having conversations about it. And then in the middle of August, of course, starting with the pre-launch and the pre-launch event, and then getting the first orders out and NFTs. And every one of you here has been kind of along for all and some version of that ride. And so, thinking about kind of just all of the things that have happened, the wins that have happened, some of the great hallmarks of things that have already happened in a good way, and then some of the kind of challenges that people inevitably are happening, not just because of AAO or because of Active Greens, but growing a business, right? And growing an alternative style of business. And just kind of as we all go through that individually and together, I thought there were some things that we could do tonight on tonight's call that would hopefully be really clarifying and just help tighten up the ship, so to speak, for each and every one of us. Because I know for me, in my experience of building this, it's like I have some aspirations to build some organizations to the hundreds of thousands as far as distributors and customers. And we've built some organizations certainly into the thousands. And so like many of us experience in our lives, whether it's in this particular business or whether it's in, our own personal lives, I think there's these moments in time where you kind of, you look at what's ahead of you. And hopefully that's with some level of excitement or some enthusiasm. In a lot of cases, and I speak for myself, is sometimes, the mountain looks so big, right? The mountain looks so big, but then it's also important for us to take an inventory of what's been behind us, right? Some of us have done some extraordinary things already. Some of us have some accolades. Some of us have some wins, some really beautiful hallmark memories, some things that we cherish. And just kind of using that as a point of reflection, right? And to go along with that, I know for me that at times when that mountain ahead of us seems so big or the mountain ahead of us seems so daunting, usually it's a product of confusion, right? Usually it's a product of having a lack of clarity. And so I have about 4 bullet points that I want to hit on tonight. But the first thing that I want to hit on is the power of visualization. And this is something that you've heard us talk about over and over and over again, something that if you turn on any modern holistic coach, if you turn on any modern business coach. You're going to hear about the power of visualization, the power of dream boards, and so forth and so on. But what I want to bring some attention to tonight is, what is it that you are visualizing, right? Is it a certain outcome? Is it a certain dollar amount that you want to receive? Is it fear, right? Like I certainly can fall into the trap of being subject to fear, which ironically is a focus on what you don't want to have happen, right? Which is a manifestation of what you don't want to have happen. But the question is really is what are you focusing on? And what I found over the years working in businesses like this is that oftentimes you have people, and if this is you, then that will, it should be a great perspective, or a great kind of modification. And if it's not you, it's going to probably be somebody that's in your group at some point. Either they are right now or they will be eventually. So starting to kind of grasp this perspective is super valuable. So the idea basically is, what is it that we're visualizing? And there's two things over the years that I've learned about visualization, but in the context of your AAO or your Active Greens business specifically, one thing that I found is that many times we start to, involve ourselves in the business, we start to consume the product, right? Like we're talking about, what is the checklist of things that really somebody that's brand new needs to do to get started, right? And this is going to be for you, this is going to be for somebody that you get started. But that checklist, it's like, if I had somebody brand new that gets started, what exactly do I want them to do? Well, the first thing I want them to do is I want them to go to their own website, right? I want them to see their link. I want them to see how to get into the back office. I want them to basically have enough of a grasp of the website that basically, if they have a new customer or a new distributor that wants to get started, that if that person's on the phone and is having some confusion of how to actually get started, or where to sign up, or what to click, or anything like that, is that your own website well enough that you can kind of think to yourself, okay, like, go here, click here, you're looking for this, do this, so forth and so on. So first thing, I want somebody to look at their website. Second thing is, I want somebody to log into their back office, right? I want them to see their virtual office. I want them to click through all the different tabs and figure out exactly what it is that they have, right? So it's figure out where, what your order invoices look like, figure out how to set up your auto subscription, set that for the 15th of the month or sooner, right? Like, have them understand that it's like, okay, you need an active order of your own that's going to process on a monthly basis inside of a calendar month to keep you active in the business, right? And that's 100% eligible to be able to earn all the rewards, including NFTs, right? And click on all those different tabs that exist in the back office. These are kind of the basics. And then the next thing that I want somebody to do is, I want them to start a conversation with 10, 15, 20, 30 people about Active Greens, right? And there's lots of different ways that we can talk about Active Greens. There's lots of different benefits of it. It's really amazing how the more that Kevin and I are out talking about this product and this project, basically, it's like there's a high degree of familiarity with greens. There's a high degree of familiarity with people that have seen athletic greens, right? And it's like, so whether you want to talk to them about the merits of the product, or you have people in general that are having problem with their gut microbiome, or people in general that aren't getting enough nutrition, because we already know that there's mineral and vitamin deficiencies in produce these days, right? Like, there's so many angles from a product perspective. And then of course you have the financial side of the business, which is, we are entering into a season in this country and actually all around the world right now, where the need for supplemental income is probably at one of its highest as it's ever been. And I believe that it's going to continue to get even higher, right? The need to add a means of income to the household that is not hinged off of the labor market, right? And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But these are kind of the concepts that I want to think about. And so what I'm getting at, going back to what I was talking about with visualization, is that I realized this really, really early on, is that I was in a business and I was attending meetings every single week. And there was somebody like myself that was, more established in the business, and that had achieved a rank in the business, and that was earning income in the business. And I would attend their meeting and I would listen to everything that they would say. And pretty soon I realized, I said, okay, well, this person is earning, at the time, that person was earning 6 figures. And they ran a meeting every week, and every week there were about 100 people that would show up at that meeting. And I thought to myself, I said, if I want to have the same result that they're having, then it would stand to reason that I need to be running something that is the same as what they're running. And it was this big aha moment, because in the beginning we're consumers, right? So in the beginning we're a consumer of a product, and in the beginning we're a consumer of content, and in the beginning we're a consumer of a system. And at some point, depending on what your goal is, whether your goal is to make an extra $1,000 a month, or whether your goal is to make an extra $1,000 a day, it's transitioning from the consumer mindset to the producer mindset. And so the visualization, and this is the first call to action for the week, but my goal for you is to work with the person that brought you into the business or work with one of us and figure out more specifically what your long-term goal in this is. Like if that long-term goal is to earn $10,000 each and every month, start to have the conversation of what the framework of a $10,000 per month business would look like. And then you can start to visualize yourself running that business, right? So instead of only visualizing, having a sick car or whatever, I've always heard it said that basically it's one thing to visualize, the Range Rover that you want to have. It's another thing to visualize getting in the front seat of that Range Rover, what it's going to sound like when you press the start button and you hear the engine start, what it's going to feel like with those leather seats on your back on a cold morning, right? And then the heat warmers coming on, what it's going to feel like to wrap your hands around that steering wheel, and what it's going to feel like to pull out of your driveway, right? And emerge into traffic. What's it going to feel like to pull into your first appointment of the day, or pull into your, and what are all of the senses: touch, taste, smell, feel, see, right? And so my challenge for you this week is to get a little bit more into the visualization of what it's going to be like to have an Active Greens business that is producing for you the very thing that you want from it. Because when you start to imagine, okay, this is me running that size of organization, now you can start to imagine, you can say, okay, let's say that I need 1,000 customers in the organization to facilitate the goal that I have, right? How do you get to 1,000 customers? Well, no one person, there might be one person out there that can bring 1,000 of their own customers, and hallelujah, I hope that it's one of you, or it's somebody that I recruit, right? But the truth is that the way that you get to 1,000 customers is a lot of people doing a little bit, right? And you start to think about 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now, this is a super important aspect of this too. As you're visualizing this too, it's attaching this to an emotion, a burning desire for this, right? Because every single one of us gets started for a reason, whether it's, hey, this is a product that I want to try myself. Hey, I need to get something going on the side. Hey, this is something that I think people that I know could benefit from, right? We all have a motivation when we start. And then inevitably, because it's a challenging business, maybe sometimes you get a lack of clarity or a lack of direction. Life heats up, life gets busy, traditional careers get busy. It's easy for this to kind of sit in the background. And so if you can start to get emotionally connected of like, okay, why did I really start it? And what do I want out of this? And you can start to think to yourself, like, I want to increase my income per hour, right? And you start to think, if you own a business right now, or if you work in a job, what's the likelihood that you can walk into your boss realistically and sit down and have a conversation with them and say, hey, I'm thinking about my quarterly review. I think that, I'm pretty valuable because I'm a systems driven person, and I'd like to increase my income with you by 30%, right? So if you're making 60, it's say, hey, can we just like raise my income to 80 or 85 or 90, right? Like, and just remember that any boss on the planet, at least any boss I've ever met that runs a traditional business, is going to look at you like you've lost your freaking marbles, right? Like, the truth is we have inflation that's 8% right now. And it's like most jobs, if they are on an aggressive trajectory, are increasing incomes and salaries by 3% annually, 5% annually. It's like, how can you even keep up with that, right? And so if you remember, this is a business where it's completely realistic to have a 100% increase of income in a month. You can double your income in a month. You can double your income every month, right? But sometimes it's a little bit hard to imagine. So it's like, what if you could double your income every 6 months, right? It's like, what if you got to $1,000 a month in the first 6 months, and then it went to 2,000, and then it went to 4,000, and then it went to 8,000? That's 24 months, right? To 6 figures. What if it went to 16,000 and 32,000 and 64,000, and that puts you at 4 years in the business, right? It's like starting to remember. And the reason I bring this up is because emotionally remembering when it's like, I just need to invite one more person to look at Active Greens, or I need to invite one more person to become an influencer with us. And sometimes it feels so minuscule and it feels so irrelevant. And you think to yourself, like, I'm gonna make $1 off of this bag of greens when this person, gets started or whatever. And realize when you get to geometric growth, this is one of the only businesses on the planet that I know of that your same amount of input can yield double the result and double the result and double the result and double the result. And remember that if maybe you're in a position financially where you're in a really, really healthy position financially, but you have somebody in your organization, and let's say that they're working for $20 an hour, right? So they're making maybe 40 and change annually. It's like, if you can help that person make an extra $800 per month, you've helped them with like a 25 to 30% raise year over year on their income when a side business. And so it's like, think about what that can really offer. And when you visualize the group growing at that pace. So this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about with visualization, is that these groups, we've already proven with Active Greens, it's possible to build an organization of over 1,000 influencers, right? Kevin's already done it. And so if you think about it, how does a group of 1,000 influencers happen? It's like, well, if that's going to happen inside of 1 month, that means that at some point you have to have about 30 people a day joining the business. So are you visualizing the idea that that's happening for somebody else? Or are you visualizing that 30 people each day? Imagine going to bed at night, knowing that there's different people doing Zooms, different people doing meetings happening in different states, right? Different time zones, right? So it's like you might have a meeting going on in your business in California at 3 p.m. and you might have somebody else on the East Coast at 8 p.m. that's doing a business, and they can all be running at the same time, even though I got that a little bit wrong, 5 and 8, right? And it's like, imagine waking up and looking at your tree and realizing that there are 30 new people that you haven't met yet that got started and got involved in Active Greens. And imagine that happening every single day, right? And it's like, and guess what's going to happen is that pretty soon it might start out that that's 3 a day. Might start out that it's 3 a day. Then it might turn into 10 a day. Then it might turn into 30 a day, right? And then it's like, what if that multiplied by 3? You have 90 a day joining your business, right? And then imagine if it was by 3, you have 200 people a day. Did you guys know that one of the examples of an organization that I saw a really great friend of mine have? They would go to sleep at night in California. They'd wake up in the morning and they would have 800 to 1,000 new distributors that were in their business. It would take 3 of them all day, every day, to call and welcome every single new person because their business was growing so fast. Their business was doing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of sales per month. And these were just a couple of silly guys that all lived together in Newport, California, and had dropped out of college because they didn't want to have a real job, and they had just gotten a business going, and it was like they were making above average income. In some cases they were making more per month than the average person makes in a year. And so I tell you all these things because visualize that happening for you, not just a concept, but in your group when you log into your AAO, right? And here's the last piece that I want to get at, and then Kevin's going to take over from here. There's been a lot of confusion regarding just all the different aspects of the company as we've been getting this going, right? So we have the Active Green story, we have the Against All Odds story, we have the non-negotiable story, we have the NFT story, we have the training code and the training compensation story, right? There's so many aspects of it. And one of the things that I've noticed a little bit in myself and also in everybody else is that as there's more, what feels like more complexity in the whole business, it sometimes feels like, what do we do? What do we actually communicate? Who do we talk to? What are we selling? So forth and so on. And just realize, I want to simplify it for you. As I thought about it all week, and I thought, what do we have here really? And I'm like, take notes if you want. You can start to, work this over in your own brain. But it's like, really, it's very, very simple. We have a four-part presentation, right? It's a 4-part opportunity, the way I look at it. The first thing is we have Active Greens. Every single one of us is having a phenomenal testimonial on that product, right? A daily greens product, rich in all sorts of minerals, vitamins. People are having some incredible digestive issues that are resolving. Some people are having incredible blood glucose response. Some people are losing weight. It's like across the board, unanimously, people are having a great response to the product. The taste is good. Simple product, $50. It's cheaper than the competitors. We know where it's harvested, where it's come from. Keep it simple, right? Who wouldn't want to be on the greens? It's like, and remembering too, remember how many people spend $50 on a product on Instagram here, or $50 on a fashion thing, or $50 on Amazon, or $50. And it's like, when you're really out there and you're looking for subscriptions and you're helping people get started on this, just remember, it's really not very big of an ask to get somebody started on their own green subscription. It's like, yeah, just here, I'm gonna send you my link right now, order right now. It's like, what if picking up subscriptions in this was 5 times easier than we've already made it, right? What if it was 10 times easier? What if it was like, you could send a couple of texts this afternoon, share a little bit of enthusiasm, and you could pick up a couple of new customers by nightfall, and it's like, put $25 in your e-wallet, $50 in your e-wallet, $75 in your e-wallet. One thing that I know about this business is that it will move at the pace of your belief, and it will move as easy or as sticky as you believe it can move, right? So we have product. The second thing is we have timing. I'm not going to talk about the timing of the company because we all know that it's early, but the timing of the economy is incredible, right? Like, we're just in dire straits in some capacity here. The inflation is kicking everybody's butt. Credit card debt is up at the highest it's been in many, many, many years. Mortgages are up. Home sales are down, right? Like, it's the recipe for need has probably not been bigger in the last 15 years, other than the subprime real estate crisis. So it's like, the timing's phenomenal. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like, I'm building this right now because I want to add another big stream of income to my portfolio, right? And so sometimes we do this thing where we isolate ourselves and we think, well, we need this, but everybody else doesn't. But the truth is like Warren Buffett says, is that when the tide goes out, you get to see who is swimming naked, right? And the truth is that it's not just somebody somewhere that, you know, is looking to make ends meet. It's not just somebody somewhere that has to pay $100+ to fill up their tank of gas. It's each and every one of us every single day, every single week. Food's more expensive, gas is more expensive, and there's no sign of that slowing down anytime soon. And so just remember that with the timing of it, it's like it might not be for everybody, but there's no reason to limit who it is that we invite to take a look, because it just might shock you who actually needs something, is looking for something, and is thankful that you brought something their way, right? Like the greatest feeling on the planet is when not only you start to achieve your own goals, but you, somebody that didn't even know they needed this, has success in their own personal life and with their family because you brought it to them, right? So it's like, maybe that's another way to think about timing. The third part is compensation. I already kind of hit compensation, but just remember, as you're building this business, this is the only business model that I know of where you can double your income every single month if you wanted to, right? You might not be able to have control over whether you double it month 1, month 2, month 3, but if you build the business, you get people started, you teach them how to share the greens, you help them get trained, and you help them get started the right way. This is a business that will start to double and quintuple and do it over and over and over again. It's one of the only things in the entire world that I've ever seen where it can take you a couple months to get 5, it can take you a couple more months to get 50, it can take you a week to get 500, and it can take you another 2 or 3 weeks to get 5,000, right? And so what happened for that to actually take place in your business? All that has to happen is consistency, consistently sharing and consistently getting people started the right way, which leads me to the fourth point, and this is the training aspect of the business. We have a phenomenal training system, and it's like when you're looking at people getting started, it's like the conversations that we really need to have, and what Kevin's going to hit on here in a second is having a curiosity of saying, hey, you know, you tried this product, you started kicking around some ideas of becoming an influencer. Like if something great could happen from this for you, you know, what would that be? And someone's like, man, if I could just, you know, get my credit card paid off, or like, hey, if I could just take my family on a trip, you know, that I thought, or hey, Christmas is coming up and things are tighter than I thought they were going to be, but I want to give my kids a great Christmas. It's like, okay, there's a way to basically do that, right? And so it's like, let people tell you what they need, and then as you're helping them get started, using their needs, you know. So the idea is, it's like if you have somebody that just is like wants to consume product and they want to just like share some product with some people, maybe post it on social media, gather a couple of customers, get them started on the greens. If you have somebody that says, hey, I want to add a stream of income to my portfolio, say, perfect. Well, we have a phenomenal qualified influencer training. It's been put together by somebody who has an incredible background in building businesses and helping people do the same. That one gets started at $397. And if you really want to go all out and learn how to train other people in your group and get paid to do it, then of course you can get started for $697. But the biggest point of all these things is, it's like the more that you can simplify what it is that you have in your brain, right? Which is what I've been doing. So I've got this great product. The timing in the economy is amazing. Compensation goes 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. You can add that number up as many times as you want. And just take whatever check that you've received so far on a monthly basis with AAO and just start putting in a calculator and just multiply it by 3 as many times. It's like, you'd be pretty surprised that it's only going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 times of multiplying what you already have to put yourself into a position that you're really excited about. And the last piece of the puzzle is that we have a world-class training track, because the truth is, you're going to talk to people that want to get started and they're going to say, hey, I've tried things like this before and I don't trust that I can make it happen, but if I could, I would really be excited about it. I say, well, do you feel like you didn't make it happen because you just didn't do anything, or did you not do anything because you just didn't know exactly what to do? And say, well, we have a training program that's part of our business, and you can get started in that, and you can learn exactly what you need to do. And so that's everything that I wanted to hit on tonight, guys. I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin. Hopefully that helps you get a little bit more clarity on the business. And this week, I urge each and every single one of you to gather one new Active Greens subscription. Each one reach one. So back to you, Kev.
Hey, thanks, Peyton. That was awesome. Man, that was really, really good to hit on, and that kind of hit on a little bit of everything. So I wanted to start, I'm going to read something from my phone. It says, a big misconception is that you need to be motivated to get rolling. You don't. Research shows that motivation often follows action, not the other way around. So in practice, you don't need to feel good to get going. You need to get going to give yourself a chance to feel good. It's like the same thing works in working out and exercise. Is if you think about physical fitness, it's like, why do I want to get tired to do the thing? And people are like, that doesn't sound good, and it has negative connotation, but it's actually like, that car that you push and then the wheels just keep on spinning and the car just keeps moving, that toy car that kids have. It's the same thing. When we generate electricity, we are more and have more electricity. It's that same thing. Action, massive action's better than action. So what I wanted to talk about was what it means to be an influencer. And we're already kind of late tonight, so I don't want to talk for very long. But what does it mean to be an influencer? It's really funny because I looked at all the paperwork, the terms and conditions. I've read through the materials, and everything legally says that we are influencers. There's no mention of the word distributor anywhere. That's like our old programming. I am an influencer for this company. I speak to schools in a couple districts that I live near. And I always come in to talk about the other path. And I always talk to them and have them raise their hands, who wants to be a doctor, who wants to be a lawyer. And whenever I get to the word influencer, who wants to be an influencer, like everybody's hand goes up. Everyone knows what that is. Everyone wants to be that. It's desirable. It's exclusive. It means to be a part of something. Like they chose you to influence, like, oh, and so I tried this week, like 2 weeks ago, I said, I'm starting the business over as if it's brand new day one. And then I guess if I'm sharing, I'm building through the people I've known. In my mind, I'm making lists from the time I was born to my present day, and everyone I can remember by jogging my memory. And I'm making lists and then contacting those lists. Texts like, hey, this is Kevin. I worked at a restaurant 17 years ago. I don't know if you still remember me. I used to ask people their birthdays, but I remembered you and I wondered if this was still your number. Like that's the text I start with. Like I'm reaching as I'm going through my warm market. I also purchase leads and I call leads, and they're strangers looking for a home-based business that I get to like ask their permission to see if it's okay to send them some information about one that I think would be good for them and schedule a follow-up. And that's like an easier conversation. Yeah, it's a total stranger and it's like cold calling, but why not? And then I have full plans of having like my kids, my nephews, nieces, younger kids knock doors for the subscriptions. And whenever there's an event that is something that I want to go to, I'm going to sit there with a booth. I'll put like lemonade stand type thing and just kind of sit there and have the conversation with people. But in my daily life in passing, I always ask everybody how their day is and kind of see how things are going. Like, what was your favorite moment today? Or what was the best part of your day? And I always engage people wherever I go. And I always got a bunch of kids with me and I'm kind of like a hot mess, but I'm just having my life and to take that moment with that person. And I ask them questions like my segues are like, do you have a side hustle? Do you do anything other than this, to generate a little something on the side? Because today the gig economy's made 1099s cool. People are driving DoorDash, people are doing Uber, people are doing versions of that kind of stuff. There's a ton of different versions of that. And everybody kind of is hip to that now. Everyone's hip to greens, like Peyton said. And so there's this part of being an influencer where, you're like we've said on other calls, drinking the active greens in front of people to stir conversation, kind of having that conversation. When someone says, oh, what do you do? You're like, oh, I'm an influencer for this new greens company. Do you take a greens product? And you're like, oh man, you would love this. It comes from like the most mineral rich soil. I'll have to send you a video. What's your number? And then you just send them a video and then see if they want, and then send them a link. I, in all my years of networking and doing these types of business, I've never posted on social media so blatantly as I did today because it felt easy. And I generated multiple sales as customers from it. And then when they're customers, I reach out to them to say, hey, send me a link. I'm like, it's going to ask you if you want to be an influencer or a customer. If you want to be an influencer, we should have that conversation. You can make some side money. I don't know if you're looking. And if you wanted to be a customer, just do that. That was kind of what I said there. And then I had it. It's like, surprise, you have a customer order. And I got paid instantly. So that was exciting. But anyways, to be an influencer, leadership is influence. It's the ability to influence someone. So it's like, what are we trying to influence people? It's like, we want people to be their best selves in whatever capacity that is. Like if somebody's non-negotiable is to eat breakfast, that's growth in their life. That's awesome. I'm applauding. That's me. I'm talking about it. If maybe it's just to get outside and move, that's a beautiful thing too. Like growth happening in people's lives is what I would like to influence, because that makes me feel good to see people grow and be happy. I want everybody to buy a bag of greens forever, maybe two, maybe share some with people and drink some. And so to me, it's like being an influencer and being proud of that. It's not like, hi, I'm a distributor in a multi-level marketing company. No, you have a legal influencer contract with Against All Odds. Against All Odds is partnering with Amazon. Amazon is like partnering with the Active Greens. It's like you have a combination of like smaller companies doing different arms of a business that is you being an influencer. That's powerful. And there's money in training. If you decided you wanted to purchase leads and call leads, so you had like a turnkey business to offer people, like there's this whole process to the whole entire thing. If you want to go, there's so many different ways. I see internet marketers internet marketing it. I see people doing parties with it. There's people want to knock doors with it. It's just a blank platform we get to share with people using our voice and make money that keeps coming in over and over and over again, long after the talking stopped, because people love the product. People take the product because they're making money with the product. People are legitimate customers that enjoy it because it betters their life, simplifying people's nutrition, bringing minerals from one of the only places in the world like this, and bringing them to the rest of the world and getting to make a little money off of that. Everything I had ever seen in my life for 20 something years was linear. It was go to work, make money, spend money, need to work again to make more money, work again to make more money, work again to make more money, like a wheel. And that's been my life. I found the best job with that wheel and I lived my life, and I found little ways to have side ways. But it's like that, to see something that actually works, that replaces the things. This was the business for me that did that. That was 10 or 15 years ago, however long now, that was a while ago, about 15 years. And it paid for a long period of time. It's like, I never had access to something that could pay me over and over for the work I did once. 1 or 2 focused hours on calling leads, that's me tomorrow. I'm going to be calling leads for about 3-4 hours tomorrow, focused. And then I'll follow up later in the week. And then I'll reach out to people as I think of them. And as my mind is spurred of new people, or I work another list or hit follow-ups. And the activity of recruiting for me is just making lists and working lists. So I'm going to send everybody my phone number. We're going to get off. If you don't have my number, I'm going to give you my phone number. I want accountability here. If you're open, make a list and send me a picture of it. That's what I'm saying. Make a list, send me a picture. Jog your list of people that have influence, people that are leaders, people that are coaches, people who are like ecclesiastical, people that have been in managerial, like leadership type roles, people that would be entrepreneurial, successful in your eyes, these types of people. Make a list of those type of people. Make a list of people that have done businesses like this before, people that you know of that have done businesses like this before. Make a list of people that you know that might be interested in the product. Just make lists. Because I'll tell you what, to make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month is not that many customers. If you made a focus to get a couple customers this week, you're in profitability on your monthly order. If you were to get a couple customers and it led to the influencer conversation, and then they were just in a place in their life where they were looking, maybe that's the deal. But I tell you, Peyton hit the nail on the head. The timing of this opportunity couldn't be better. I'm in the real estate world. I see what's happening in the lender world. I'm in the stocks. I see what's happening in the financial markets. I see what's happening in the bond markets. They affect both. I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm perfectly positioned to make the biggest run I've ever made at anything multi-level in my entire life, gather every person I've ever known that has ever done anything like that or had a dream or been deserving of it, connect all them into this, make a massive spider web of people, have them know what to do, how to do it, have everything all in place. And as the world continues to get worse, we are the soft landing place to get people's mind, hearts, and finances right, their physical right. Every aspect of it can happen through the connection of this into their life. And then that makes us more money. And as a result, then we have all this money extra and we buy the markets in the low, we buy the real estates in the low, we buy the toys in the low, we buy all the things that we want respectively in our whys by making money in the low, using that money wisely in the low, and then riding it back up like you've never multiplied before, the ultimate geometric progression. And I'm like, every one of you guys has been on this call faithfully. Why can't it be you? You could have whatever it is that you desire. It's possible. The work is there. You have my number. I just texted it to you. I said, I put it in the chat. If you need anything, by all means, text me. But if you want an accountability piece, send me your list. Make a list and send it to me and text a picture. Gulp, but hey, that would be really cool. All you have to do is contact a couple people a day off that list. And eventually when the list is done, you got to make a new list. But there's so many people from so many phases of your life that you'd still be friends with if y'all had the common thing that used to make you guys hang out. So if this became the common thing spread out across all these social groups of all these years of your life, and it was something where you guys got to work on your dream together, that's special. That's something you remember. That becomes the good old days. And at the end of the resources of time, money, and wealth, or sorry, time, money, and health, out of all three, what you end up using all three for, once you have them all, is to make experiences and memories with the people you love, to do those things. That's what this is all about. So might as well have it in the journey. Just like when we started with that quote that said the biggest misconception is that you need to be motivated to get rolling. A lot of times the motivation comes from the rolling. There's a quote in my home that we live by that says action overrides emotion. We say that all the time. It's like, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. It's like, oh, I'm scared of the water. I guess I'm going to have to swim scared. Like, do I want the result or not? I realized in order to build the type of organization that Peyton was describing that I want to build and I am going to build, I have to talk to a certain number of people. And while I'm an introvert, I will do it because I care more about the outcome and the income than I do that I'm an introvert. I'll be an extrovert for a couple of years to have that lifetime wealth generationally and to bring up like several hundred people to that level as well. And I'm like really grateful that you guys are on the call tonight. And I'm grateful that you guys took a moment out of your Sunday, or if you're listening to the recording of this, to get a little bit of what we've got going on out here, consistently talking to new people every single day. Be proud to be an influencer. People want to be influencers. It's cool when it's talked about. Try that conversation this week. Send me a picture of your list. I'll talk to you guys later this week. If you have any questions, I can stay on after happily.